How to stop overthinking in 5 steps. Most people think overthinking is a thinking problem.
No shit.
If you could just quiet your mind, meditate more, stress less, you won't have this problem of overthinking all the time. But that's not what's happening. Overthinking is not about having too many thoughts. It's about not trusting yourself to handle what happens after you act. It's not an intelligence problem. It's a confidence problem, and more specifically, a trust problem. And once you understand that, and once you see it that way, everything changes, and including what to do about it. So let's go. But before we dive in, if you're new to the channel, my name is Brian Bradshaw. I'm author of the book, Accomplish Anything. I'm the founder of The Social Edge, and on this channel, we talk about communication skills, confidence, and charisma. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. So let's start what actually happens when you overthink. You need to make a decision. Maybe something you have to say to somebody. Maybe an email you have to send. Maybe a conversation that needs to be had at work. And instead of acting, your brain starts running loops. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if they take it the wrong way? What if I come off as unprofessional? What if I get it wrong? What if I look stupid? What if there's a better option that I could have went with? That loop is not your brain trying to find the best answer. That loop is your brain trying to avoid a specific feeling. The feeling of being wrong, getting caught off guard, and not knowing how to handle what happens next. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to achieve certainty before committing to action. And because certainty is almost never available, especially in social situations, the loop doesn't close. It just keeps running. And here's an important distinction. Analysis and overthinking are not the same thing. Analysis is moving towards a decision. You gather information, you weigh the alternatives, the pros and cons, and then you make a decision. Overthinking is moving away from a decision. It generates more questions as an excuse not to take action. If your thinking is helping you to act, that's analysis. If it's helping you delay, that's overthinking. And once you understand how to feel the difference in real time, then you're able to overcome it. And here's something worth thinking about. The smarter you are, the more you tend to overthink. Not because you have more to consider, because you are better at generating reasons not to act. If you have a high-functioning analytical mind, you can come up with very compelling reasons about why you shouldn't do something. You can see the downside in every option. You can anticipate negative responses with real precision. That's useful in a lot of contexts. In social situations, in conversations, in relationships, in moments that require real presence, it's actually a liability. Because social life doesn't require the most calculated response. It rewards the most natural one. There's also a second reason why most people overthink, and it's hard to admit. When you've built your identity around the person that always gets things right, who thinks clearly, who doesn't make stupid errors, being wrong feels identity threatening, not just uncomfortable, threatening. And so the mind does what it always does when it feels threatened. It delays. It gathers more information. It asks one more question, not because it needs to, it's because it's protecting you for something. The deepest driver for overthinking is always this: an intolerance for uncertainty. Not the uncertainty itself, the feeling of it. The unsettled, unresolved sensation of not knowing how something's going to turn out. And here's what makes it really stubborn. The more thinking you do, that's not going to fix it. Because uncertainty in most social situations isn't a matter of not having enough information. You don't have more data available to think longer, but you do have more time to feel the discomfort of not knowing.
I don't know.
What's actually happening when you keep running this mental loop is emotional avoidance dressed up as productive thinking. It feels responsible. It feels like you're preparing yourself. But the test is simple. Are you getting closer to a decision, or are you just staying stuck?
I'm stuck.
Certainty in social life and social situations is never certain in advance. You don't know how the conversation's going to go before you have it. You don't know how they'll respond before you send that text, before you send that email. That information only becomes available through taking action, which means the shift isn't about being certain. It's about someone who can move forward without it. Social confidence, the kind that shows up in conversation, in meeting new people, in business deals. That's not built through preparation. It's built through repeated exposure to social risk, followed by the experience of surviving it. Saying the thing you're not sure how it will land. Asking the question that you think might be kind of stupid. Making the move before you've talked yourself out of it. Letting that silence stretch and become awkward before filling it with noise. These are small risks. But if you're someone like I used to be, who trained my nervous system to only move forward when there was certainty present, these are a huge deal. And the worst part about chronic overthinking is that it prevents you from having the feeling you were after in the first place. You can't build evidence that you can handle uncertainty if you never tackle it in the first place. And you can't develop self-trust without acting in the absence of a guarantee. The people who seem most natural in social situations, they aren't the people that have the least amount of consequences. They've just had more errors, more data points, more experiences, and more evidence that they're able to recover from it. Self-trust isn't a personality trait. It's a track record you've built with yourself over time. And that loop closes through action, not more thinking. So, oh, that's cool, Brian, but what do I actually do with all this?
So what do I do? What do I do?
Here are 5 things that work, and I know they work because that's exactly what I use to help myself, and I used to be a chronic overthinker all the time. All right, so step number 1, set a decision time window and stick to it. Overthinking thrives on open-ended time. If there's no deadline, there's no reason to stop overthinking. Start giving yourself a fixed window for low-threat decisions. Not hours, minutes at most. Right? You want to send a message to somebody, a text or an email you're not sure, set a timer for 2 minutes. 2 minutes to decide what to say and to send it. And that time is set small for a reason. The goal isn't to send the perfect message. The goal is to actually send the message. I used to do this all the time at work. I used to spend 20 minutes drafting the perfect email and then editing it and then re-editing it and asking somebody else to look at it. It's like, dude, just write the email, the message, keep it simple, and send it. And here's what I noticed. Most of the time, that thing that I wanted to send in the first place, I ended up sending. I just wasted an hour and a half of my time just overthinking about getting it perfect. The extra time didn't change the outcome. It just cost me time and energy. Step number 2 was I actually named specifically what I was afraid of. When you catch yourself in one of these loops, stop asking, well, what's the right answer? What's the perfect response? And start asking, what am I afraid of will happen if I do act? And get specific, not, well, it might not go right. All right, that's not fear, that's a placeholder. That's a time waster. What specifically? Well, they'll reject me. I'll look stupid. I might actually confirm something that I'm afraid of that people tell me about myself that's true that I don't think is. When the fear is named, when it's specific, now it becomes workable. Now you can fix it. And most fears, once they're named clearly and specifically, are much smaller than the never-ending loop they were generating in your brain. I wasn't afraid of sending the email. I was afraid of what a non-reply could mean. And those are different problems. And different problems require different solutions. Step number 3 is I ask myself, okay, what's the cost of me not deciding? As a former overthinker, a lot of us spend too much time focusing on what the cost is. What if it goes wrong? What if I regret it? And almost no one stops and asks themselves, what is the cost that this loop is costing me right now? The energy, the time, the slow erosion of trust in myself, the opportunities that close while I'm still deciding, the version of your life that could have been better, the version that you always wanted, but you kept waiting until conditions were better. Inaction has a price. It's just less visible than the cost of a wrong action. So start making it visible. Step number 4 is I made an evidence file in my head. Self-trust is built on evidence. And if you've spent years in an overthinking loop, the evidence that you've acquired is really about you not taking action over things you were scared of. So for years, you've trained your nervous system. Uncertainty equals danger equals don't act. You need counter evidence. right? So start recording, start noticing the times that you decided to act even with uncertainty. And things turned out fine.
Fine.
Not perfect, fine. The conversation that you felt was going to be risky went okay. The email that you spent an hour crafting the perfect response and your palms were sweaty, you were scared to send it, and the response you got back was positive. The moment you got up to speak or give a presentation and the world didn't end. These aren't just small wins, they're data points. Commit them to memory, and anytime you're in that same environment and you have that same experience, you go back and say, wait a minute, I've done this before, I've been through this before, I've lived. And over time, enough of those positive data points will far outweigh any anxiety as soon as it pops up. And step number 5 is to use action as a pattern interrupt, not the solution. And this is the last step and perhaps most important. Stop trying to think your way out of overthinking. That's just a loop within a loop within a loop. Instead, when you notice you're stuck in an overthinking loop, take the smallest action you can immediately. It doesn't have to be the big grand thing that you're overthinking of. It could be the smallest little piece of it. A quick text reply, a quick email reply, a small decision that you've been putting off. The act of deciding, any decision, interrupts that neural loop pattern. And it reminds your system what it feels like to move forward. And it creates the tiniest bit of certainty that you can handle whatever you're doing as you're moving forward. So you can't just solve overthinking in an instant, but you can make a tiny dent and build up that self-trust by taking little actions over and over. So again, overthinking is not a sign that you're way too smart or you care too much. It's a sign that somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting yourself. And that trust is not built in your head. It's not built by more thinking. It's built in the momentum of action. After you say the thing, after you do the thing, after you send the text, after you send the email, after you take the small risk and realize, I'm still standing, everything's still okay. Think less, act sooner. Trust yourself again. Trust yourself again like I know you want to. So comment down below. I want to hear from you. What's something that you chronically overthink about? What's a mental loop that you're always running in your head that you wish, if I could just stop doing that, my life would be so much better? Comment down below. And if you want to go a little bit deeper on this topic, I wrote a whole article. It's all linked in my Substack down below on the social edge. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.